It's one of those rare overcast days in Las Vegas today, and we're headed down to the Encore to play a $600, 150K guarantee tournament. This is a pretty typical size tournament in the off season. It's right in my wheelhouse. I feel very comfortable at this stake, so let's get inside and see what we can make happen. So far, I've probably played about an hour into this tournament. I've been losing a lot of pots. I'm probably down about 10K so far off of a 25K starting stack. In this hand, the cutoff opens to 1100. He has 11K stack, so about 22 big blinds to start. I'm in the big blind with pocket aces. So that was a nice sight. Now in game, I was trying to think of like if I should 3-bet now or set the trap. Off of such a short stack, I'm really not scared of any flop that comes out. But going forward, I'd probably 3-bet this spot, and I'll work on finding some 3-bet bluffs as well. In this spot though, I just called the 1100. The flop comes king 10-5 with 2 diamonds. I check to him and he bets 1K, so third of the pot. This is where I'm going to raise now. I think that if he has a strong king, if he has a strong draw, anything like that, he'll get it in on this flop. So I raise a 3K, but he pretty quickly folds. In this one, under the gun opens to 1500 at 600 big blind, and we look down at ace king suited, under the gun 1. So we 3-bet to 4K next to act, and the cutoff cold calls this 4K. Under the gun makes the call. Now we're off to a flop 3 ways. It comes ace 5-4 all clubs. Under the gun checks to me, and on a multi-way monotone board, I'm going to be checking a lot, so I do here as well, and the cutoff checks it back. The turn is another ace. So now we have trips and what is more than likely the best hand all the time when under the gun checks to me. We're gonna bet. I wanna put some more money in this pot. So I bet 5K, but both of them fold and we take down this medium-ish size pot. In this one, I open pocket 4s in the cutoff to 1300. Just the opponent in the small blind makes the call. On a flop of queen 8-6 with 2 hearts, small blind checks it to me, and I think this board is going to interact with a lot of the things that he calls with from the small blind, so I pretty quickly check it back. The turn comes an offsuit 7. This time the small blind bets 2,000 into a pot of 3,800, and I think a little bit of impatience, a little bit of frustration takes over, reaches for my chips, and makes the call. I had been losing a lot of pots to this guy, and that's not really a good excuse, but that's what happened in this situation. And the river comes an offsuit 6, and my opponent bets again for 4K. I cut my losses and make the fold. So impatience and frustration are not done with me yet as I look down at 9-6 of hearts in the hijack. Pretty wide considering that both blinds are pretty good players and the big blind is an aggressive one. Doesn't matter. My hands grab some chips and I raise it up to 1300. Just the big blind calls. Flop is king, queen, jack with 1 heart. So I have a little bit of hope with a gutter and a backdoor straight draw. He checks to me. I bet 2,000. He pretty quickly folds. I glance over at the tourney clock and pray for the break to get here quicker because I clearly need one. So the last notable hand before break, under the gun 1 opens to 1,200. I look down in the small blind at ace queen offsuit and make the call. Future me is going to be 3-betting this one, but yeah, she's still way better than me at this point. I just call. Big blind calls. So 3 ways to a flop. It comes down ace, jack, 7, all hearts. So we flop top pair, second up flush draw, but no action. Everyone checks around. The turn comes a 5 of diamonds. I want to put some money in this pot. I bet 1,500, but they both fold and we're off to break. Did not play my best this past couple of levels. I definitely was pushing the action. You guys ever do that a little bit where you just like open hands you shouldn't be opening, or just, I don't know. I feel like I was just pressing the action a little bit. So I'm going to go back in there and chill out. So sitting back down at the table, under the gun 1 is a new player. She just bought in and opens to 2,000 at 800 big blind. A very chill me is in the cutoff with ace 9 of hearts, and I make the call. The flop comes down 9-8-5 rainbow. She checks. I bet 3,000, and she makes the call. The turn is an offsuit 4. So she checks again, and I'm gonna continue value betting. I bet 5K this time. She again makes the call. The river comes a 7 of hearts. So, you know, if she had jack 10 that played this way, it gets there. If she had a stubborn pocket 7s or 6s that check all the flop, check all the turn, that now beats us, I'm not really sure how often people check tens on this board and pot control, or check like a worse 9. So I don't know how much value I'm getting if I bet. It's pretty close. I think about it, but I decide against it and I check back. Surprisingly, she flips over ace king offsuit. So definitely didn't even have that in her range at all. That called twice. But we take down this pot and things are looking up for us. All right, in this one, we look down at ace 10 offsuit, under the gun 1. We raise it up to 1800 and the cutoff makes the call. The flop comes down 10-6-5 rainbow. Top pair, top kicker for us, so we bet 2000. He quickly calls, and the turn comes down a deuce of spades. So now there's some backdoor flush draw possibilities. We have a pretty strong hand, so we're gonna bet again. We bet 5500, cutoff calls again very quickly. The river is an offsuit queen. I think it's a pretty big brick. The only hand we're losing to now that plays this way is queen 10 of spades and queen 10 of diamonds. Other than that, there's king 10, jack 10, 9, 10 that we're hoping to get value from. So especially for a smaller bet size. So that's what I do. I bet 9K into 20,600. He thinks for a bit and eventually makes the correct fold. In this next one, the hijack opens to 2,500 at 1K big blind, and I look down at pocket kings in the cutoff. I check out his stack. He's got a little less than 20 big blinds. And so I just decided to slow play. I call in the cutoff, hoping that one of the stacks behind me decides to capitalize on the quote unquote dead money and jam it all in. No such luck as we go heads up to a flop of 7-3 deuce, 2 diamonds, and a heart. We got the diamonds covered. We got an overpair. We're feeling really good about this spot. Hijack bets 4K, and again, we're gonna slow play. I just make the call. The turn is an offsuit 8, and all things are going to plan as he jams it all in for 13,000. We snap call and see that we're up against 10-9 offsuit. So he's getting a little frisky there, the hijack with that open. And when he turned his open ender, decided to go for it. And yeah, so now we just have to fade 8 outs for the straight. The river comes, the very nice 9 of clubs. We hold with our pocket kings and bust this guy out right before we move to a new table. The new table is not treating us very well. We open a lot of pots, don't win any of them until this hand happens. The hijack opens to 3,000 and we're in the cutoff with king 9 of spades. I want to 3-bet this one a lot, so I do in this case. I 3-bet it to 8,000 on accident. I meant to make it 9, but I grabbed one less chip. So I made it 8,000. He makes the call for 5,000 more. Heads up to a flop of 10-9-6 with 2 hearts and a club. He does something very interesting. He leads out 15,000 into 19,000. He started this street with about 50K, so you know, he's betting like such a huge portion of his stack. What is he doing this with? Does he have pocket jacks that he was trying to just get a safe flop and go with? Does he do this with a worst 9 ever? Is he just doing this with some combo draw or nut flush draw, something like that? It didn't feel great no matter what my decision was. I don't really want to call and then just have to guess on a lot of turns. I don't want to jam all in and just only get called by, you know, a hand with a ton of equity versus me if they're not already crushing me. So I just laid it down. I made the fold and I was not sure at all what to do in that spot, but that's what happened. Made the fold. Let's move on, find another spot. So in this one, it folds around to me in the small blind and I complete for 600 more with jack 3 of clubs. The big blind checks his option and we're heads up to the flop, which comes down ace 3 deuce with a club. I bet 1,200 and the big blind does not just call, he raises to 4,000. Now he started the hand with about 20 big blinds. So on an ace high flop, I'm a little skeptical of this raise, to be honest. I think a lot of his best aces are gonna do something different pre-flop. I think middling aces might just call my bet. So all that said, I'm never folding my middle pair because I'm gonna be limping a lot of hands and then betting small on the flop. So when I actually have a pair, it's way too high up in my range to be folding. So I make the call. Turn comes a queen of hearts. I check and he pretty quickly checks back. The river is a 7 of spades. I'm just hoping to get to showdown. So I check it over to him and he pretty quickly checks back. I show my hand. He looks at the board, he looks at my hand for a bit, then he just flips over a 3 and says, Jack play. So yeah, he had a 3, was check raising the flop and just trying to get to showdown. after dinner break, blinds are up, 1K, 1500 big blind. Folds around to the small blind and he makes it 5K. He'd been limping his blinds a lot, so I think I should give this a little more credit, but I look down at ace 3 offsuit off 20 big blinds. Can't be folded in ace, blind versus blind, so I peel. The flop comes down ace 9-9, 2 spades. He bets 5K again, and I make the call. Turn is a 5 of diamonds. We both check this card. The river is a 7 of clubs, and he checks again. So now I have a decision of whether to go for value or not. I decide it might be a little too thin. Looking back, maybe it's not. I'm not sure. Anyway, I just check. He flashes pocket kings. I table my hand, and he says,
Nice catch.
So a few levels of misery go by where I'm just not picking up any hands, watching my stack slowly dwindle away. All my hard work just blinding down to the point where all that's left to do is either go all in or fold. Probably the most boring part of tournament poker. Just looking at a stack that's either an all in or fold, no decisions, nothing really to pay attention to, dreaming of all the chips you'd rather have than your little nub. Not fun. And just like that, we get called. Finally, an all-in gets called. We get some action. We can either double up or go home. So I flip over pocket jacks and my opponent has ace 10 suited. So here we go. Let's watch the run out.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I got more moves now.
Yeah.
So in these win 2-day tournaments, usually by the end of day 1, you're in the money. So at this point in the tournament, I look up and I'm only 20 or 25 away from the money. So looking pretty good to actually cash this thing. So a new player gets moved to our table. He opens under the gun 1 to 11K at 5K big blind. I'm in the big blind with queen 7 of spades. I only started this hand with about 12 big. So I'm looking to peel my big blind, flop some draws, flop a pair, and proceed from there. Try to get it in on a good flop. The flop comes out king 10-4, 2 spades and a diamond. I check it over to him. He bets 13K and I'm sticking with the plan. I flop second nut flush draw. I can get probably a 10 to fold sometimes. I can get some ace high hands to fold and worse pairs under a 10 that sometimes c-bet. All kinds of stuff could happen if I jam it in. So that's what I do. I jam it all in for 49,000 total. Unfortunately, he super snap calls us off. So we know we're not any good and we're gonna have to hit a spade. He flips over his hand and we see we're up against pocket aces and he has one of our outs as well. So pretty bad news, but we're sweating out the run out. Comes a 6 of diamonds on the turn and the river is 5 of diamonds. Womp womp. Out of another tournament, but you know, it was a long day. We got a lot of hands in there and you know, for the most part, happy with my play. I can't believe we're already at vlog 10. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Just keeping it simple. This is what the average day in the life of a tournament pro looks like. Hope you guys enjoyed. Till next time, good luck at the tables and I'll see you soon.